Hello all and welcome back to another wonderful video here in Ponytown. Today we're going to be talking about things that are a little bit more complex in Ponytown. Ponytown of course is a very simple game with a lot of different simple mechanics and things like that, but if you want to make it more complicated you definitely can. So let's start with the first thing on the list and you'll kind of understand what I'm talking about. That is walls. So the first thing on the list of course, like I said, is walls. It's a very simple thing. You just click and drag. If you're on mobile you tap and it gives you this little thing and you drag it and you can place the walls that way. But it gets really confusing because there are many different types of walls. In fact, fences also are considered a type of wall, so that's kind of interesting and crazy and weird. There's also a dark fence version of the same thing, but how do I delete that wall? Well, if I try to trace over this thing, it doesn't delete the wall, but then if I do it again, it deletes the wall. What the heck is going on? Well, you have to trace over the wall with the exact same type of wall to remove that wall. But it gets even more complicated than that. So, for example, if I have just a regular stone wall like this, and I press space, I now have a short wall. But this is also a short wall, so if I hover over this, it should delete it. Wait, what the heck? No, it's not. It's not deleting it. That doesn't make any sense. Well, that's because there's three different types of walls. There's a short wall like I placed there. There is the tall walls like this. And then of course there's the auto wall, which is what this wall is. The auto wall, if I press F8, will make it a tall wall, but it'll only be a tall wall to me. So I have to press F8 to toggle this on and off. And of course, if I want to toggle it a different way, I can open up my build menu, go to the settings thing down here, and then click this thing here, and all the walls that are auto will be tall temporarily until I disable it again. And then it just becomes a whole controversy and everything like that. For example, again, this is a tall wall, right? Well, if I switch to a tall wall, that's right. Ooh, my wall mode has changed to tall wall. It's weird. Now I'm deleting that, even though that should have been an auto wall, but it's so confusing. So this is an auto wall, right? And then here's a tall wall. It doesn't get rid of it. It just makes that auto wall a tall wall. So now that I have a tall wall there, I can delete it like this. You can see how complicated walls can get very quickly, but it gets even worse than that because if I open up my build menu here and go to the outdoors tab and scroll over, you can see that I can just place the short fences down as objects, just like walls, making me believe that I have to delete this wall by hovering over it, but I can't hover over it because that's an object, and that one gets deleted with the broom, and it's so complicated that walls are one of the most complicated things in the game. They should be super simple, and they are super simple, but it gets really confusing very fast, and that's the whole point of this video. So another thing that is very simple on the surface and starts out very simple but gets more and more complicated as we move on is dice. So if you don't know, there is a dice command. If I do /roll, it will automatically roll dice out of 100. Now I can customize this dice if I want to. So if I want to roll out of 1,000, I can roll out of 1,000 instead. Or if I wanted to, I can roll out of 10,000. Ooh, isn't that special? We actually hit 10,000 recently. I'm gonna do a live stream. Maybe I've already done it. I don't know. I still don't have the smoothie ingredients to do the live stream, but once I have that and I have some time, I'll do a special live stream for 10,000. So thank you guys for 10,000. But of course, like I said, I can customize a roll. I can roll out of 10,000, and ooh, look at that. We got 8,442 out of 10,000. That's pretty cool. But it also gets even more complicated than that because of course I can do it even all the way out of 2, so 2 out of 2. Or if I wanted to, I can roll 1 out of 1. That's right, I don't know why you'd want to, but you can roll 1 out of 1. And you can also do stuff like roll apple. That's right, you can roll out of apples if you want to. And now I've rolled an apple out of 100. I don't know why you can do that, but you can. I guess it's an Easter egg. But it gets even more complicated than that because if I want to make it super complicated, I can do 2d6, and now it'll roll 6 dice, and so if I do that, it comes out like this. I rolled a 3 and a 5, and it comes out to 8 out of 2d6. And I can make that even more complicated because I can do, let's say, 8d9 or something like that, right? Boom, here's 8 dice. It gave me 42 out of 8d9. Or if I wanted to, 5d7 for some reason, here you go. Look how complicated this gets. But I can make it even more complicated. So for example, if I roll 2d6 and then type in a word like bananas, it'll roll 2d6 out of bananas, and it'll include the word bananas in there. So dice, of course, is another thing that can get extremely complicated and complex, and all kinds of fun little things can happen with that. But yes, it starts on the surface very simple, but you can make it as complex as you want, and that's a really fun thing. So another thing that is in the game that also gets super complex and interesting is placing objects down. So obviously if I want to put a bush down here, I can put a bush down or whatever like that and put it down, and I can put it down as many times as I want, and it's a bush. It's a nice little bush. It's lovely. But if I get something like this water rock right here and I try to place it down, it'll suddenly transform into a different kind of rock, okay? It's still small, but it's slightly different than the other one. So if I place it again, okay, now I have this massive one. Let me put that over here, I guess. Okay, now I have a different one again, and you just keep placing it down and it keeps giving you different versions of this water rock, a very small rock. I'm not pressing anything other than just clicking so that it places it down, and it just slowly transforms into other kinds of rocks. There's like 11 or 12 of these different kinds of water rocks, all combined into one. There's no way to pick and choose which one I want except to hit escape. So if I hit escape on my keyboard, it'll of course switch between them. Randomly, if I click, it'll just randomly switch between one of the other types of water rocks. I can do the same thing by pressing shift. I don't like doing that because sticky keys happens or whatever like that. You can also scroll on your mouse wheel to the clover and then back to the water rock, and then to the clover and back to the water rock, and it'll be a different water rock. You can also click the water rock and it will give you a different water rock every single time. It's crazy. It's wild, it's wacky, and it's crazy, and there's ways to kind of pick and choose which one you want. For example, I want this sharp one, this tall sharp one like that. I can just click this enough times until it comes up, and then once it comes up, I just place it down or whatever, right? I accidentally passed it, but as you can see, this is something that is very crazy and wild. The same thing happens with like big bushes. You can see that it's sort of slanted to the left. If I place it down, now it's slanted to the right, and even though these are right next to each other, they're very different from one another. So you can see how a lot of different stuff in the game does that. For example, the large tree. If I place the large tree, look at that. Now I have a different kind of large tree and another different large kind of tree, and then I'm back to the one I started with. And again, I can press escape and all that other stuff to do the same thing. So you can see how something so simple as even just placing objects down also gets extremely complicated if you make it complicated, because it's just something that you can do. Now, another thing that is super simple on the surface but also gets super complicated the more you dive into it is actions. So if you come down here to the bottom right, there's this little action icon down here, edit the actions. That is what this whole row of little emoji looking things are. If I click this, I get this little thing here, and I can just click and drag this. Ooh, I want the kiss emote over here. Ooh, I'll click it and I'll drag it and I'll bring it over there. You know what? I don't want that kiss emoji, so I'll just bring it back up here and let go of it, and it's gone forever, except until I just put it back in there. So that's obviously a very simple thing. It's a little bit more complex than a couple of the other things we've mentioned so far, but it gets even more complicated than that because there is different tabs for different stuff. For example, if I want some of the building actions, I have to go to the building tab. If I want some chat things like the roll dice command, you can equip that and roll out of 100 by default. You can't customize that one if you click this action, but it's there, it exists, and of course you can do that with all these other things too. But there's also the expressions, and this is where it gets extremely complicated, because now I can create any special custom action that I want, a custom expression action. So if I wanted to have this like weird looking eye thing, or like, ooh, this angry eyes or whatever like that, and then click this mouth to make it like I'm spitting my tongue at you or something like that, right? And then I can also make it where I'm crying, and now that all of that is done, I have to find this thing here at the bottom of the screen and drag that to my action, and then boom, there you go. Now I'm crying and spitting my tongue out at you. If I just close that and click this, and then I have to drop the hammer too. I'm sticking my tongue out at you. You hurt my feelings. Basically is what I'm doing there, right? That's basically what expression I'm making. But yeah, as you can see, it's super simple, but it can get very complicated because there's all kinds of stuff here on screen. There's many different options to choose from. You can choose how your pupils are, choose how your mouth is, and all this other stuff. You can even flip your expression here and click yourself, and there's supposed to be a little Easter egg there where your character flinches or whatever like that. You can make it to where it doesn't match the eye, so you can make each eye different, and it starts to get super complicated the more you dive into it, and that's kind of the whole point of this video, like I've mentioned multiple times before. Now, that is pretty much it for this video. I'm going to show you one last thing that is super simple, but it can also be complicated in its own little way. This happens with a lot of different stuff, by the way, but I'm going to use a fruit box to show you as this example. So of course, if I come up here and just click this fruit box, it'll give me an apple, and then another apple, and then an apple, and then another. Why there's so many apples? You click it again, eventually you'll get an orange and another orange. Why there's so many oranges? Pears, and then all the way to banana. But if I'm trying to get that banana and I accidentally overshoot it by clicking it 9 times instead of 8 or whatever like that, or 7 or 8 or whatever, how many it is. And now I have a lemon. Oh no! If you actually hold shift on your keyboard and click the box, it'll actually go backwards. So again, if I click this, I'll get the lemon, and then if I hold shift, I click it, and I go back to the banana. It's a very simple thing, but it's also super complex because this happens with a lot of different stuff in the game. For example, if a player is covering this fruit box up and you can't reach it because you can't click it because, you know, they're blocking it, you can come up to the fruit box and the player that's hiding it, and you can hold shift and click the player, and it will actually click the item behind the player instead of clicking the player itself, allowing you to pick up that item. Now, of course, you can just press E and go through it that way, of course, but yeah, other things you can't necessarily do that with. So all kinds of things in this game, if you hold shift, special things happen sometimes when you click. For example, again, if I have my shovel out and I hold shift over this dirt, it'll actually allow me to click the dirt, and now I have dirt equipped, and I can do that with anything. So if I put down some wood tiles here, boom, now I got dirt, and now I got the wood tiles again, and now I got the grass again, and all kinds of crazy things like that. So holding shift also creates a lot of complex things in the game, and it's a lot of fun. But yes, that's gonna do it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about some of the complicated things in this game, especially the walls. I kind of went a little bit overboard on that, probably spent too much time on it, but the walls are one of the most complicated things, let me tell you. But anyway, yeah, that's gonna do it. If you guys have anything else in the game or know anything else in the game that is a little bit more complicated like more complicated than it seems on the surface, then let me know in the comments below. I'll try and explain it maybe in a future video or something like that. But for now, that's gonna do it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please do consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and doing all those wonderful things like that. Because when you do those wonderful things like that, not only do you get access to wonderful content such as this, but you also get to become wonderful yourself, and I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful.